Oh man, yo, I don't know exactly. This is probably going against my better judgment, but I do feel like that I need to say this, and this is probably going to bite me in the butt later. But I be on the internet a lot. I be outside sometimes, and I talked about this many times already too, as far as like the internet and the reality of social media, because it's all it is just one big group chat. A lot of the people that you hear or see online might not consist of people within your reality or your realm of people. But again, people can lie on social media because, for the most part, people that they know personally might not be their friends. But I will say, like I said, it's just one big group chat. But I wanted to talk about something, you know, when it comes to dating, particularly dating, right? So, y'all know the scripture, a man who finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor from the Lord. Now, you will ask yourself, what does that mean? Because a lot of times there will be women, particularly, who believe that a man should pursue them, that they're the prize. And I was even talking to another associate of mine some years ago, and I think she was saying there's like 10 women for every one man. But we got to remember, people have standards, people have expectations, people have their ideologies. And we can't tell people what their standards or expectations to be. We can just tell them like, look, when you set these standards, when you set these expectations, and somebody doesn't meet them, then you have to make a decision. But some people might settle, some people might compromise, some people might not even really deal with things. But I've also learned too that people do lie, right? People like to sound intelligent and they're not. People like to play dumb and they're not. So it's always going to be those things that we weigh. But, like I said, with these dating shows like Pop the Balloon, tonight's conversation, and I don't even think tonight's conversation is a technical dating show, but that's pretty much a lot of stuff that I see. Um, even Kendra G. And then we also have these other, reality shows like Love Island, Too Hot to Handle. That was one of the ones that I used to, look at, and then, going back to Flavor Flav and I Love New York, all these things. Like these things been like this stuff been, around. But like I said, Pop the Balloon, tonight's conversation. Those are like my two top shows that I look at quite like clips and views sometimes. But I was going to say too, because everybody has different ideologies. Everybody has different desires. Everybody has different needs. And, God provides those needs. However, when people talk about the dating pool having pee in it, then go to the beach or go to the lake or go to the pond. You can even go to the fountain. But the point is this: it's like if you're looking for the perfect person, you're not going to find it, but you might find the perfect person for you. Not to say lower your standards or reduce your expectations, but maybe not being so shallow. Because I was actually saying this to somebody, a woman before, and I was like, I don't think there's going to be a man or a woman who has all like the total package. I mean, it might be like I said, I'm not, I can't speak for the men, but it's like, there might be women who might be beautiful, might be fit, might have some money in their pocket, men as well, but maybe they have children, or they probably don't have children. They can be a single woman with a career, goal oriented, but there's some trauma that she's dealing with. And the same thing can go for men. So again, I'm not like a love guru or nothing. Like, I've been married, and even just like, I would say probably since the age of 14. So looking at it, probably like for like the last 20 years, over more than 20 years, like I've been a certified lover boy for real. Shout out to Drake. But the thing is like, when we see these things online, when we see these things, whether it's on YouTube, whether we actually go to the show, whether we see clips on social media, these are examples. You know, a lot of people might make comments about how they feel about it, but these are the examples. Like, we enjoy these shows. They're entertaining. You know, whether you take it seriously or not, these are examples. Like, I'm not going to say that all hope is gone, but you got to take into account is when you're seeking a partner, looking for a relationship, looking for love, and you actually pray about it, because again, God knows what we want. God knows what our hearts desire, but sometimes you have to speak it out loud and, manifest it, and, talk to God and put yourself in positions to, achieve these things. Right? So I will say, your desires, what you want, is not too far fetched. But I do want to say is that pay attention to people's actions, because when God answers your prayers, He gives you what you ask for, and then it might not look like or appear to be what you asked for. But again, being intentional makes a very big a difference. Some people might be looking to date for help. Some people might be looking to date for security or protection. Some people might be even looking to date so they can kind of, lay up with somebody because they don't want to, have casual, relationship. But the thing is, you know, when you're looking for love, we got to factor in and acknowledge and say, what is it? What is love? Say, God, please send me a woman who loves me for who I am. Not about what I have, not about how I look. Like, all these things are important, but it's like, let's even peel that back even too, as far as like as far as what we have. Men are held to a higher standard than women. Men have to, have a car, have a career, have, you know, money. Because again, if, I can do bad all by myself mentality, that's cool. But men, and there's a lot of men that might feel this way, but I'm just going to speak for myself. For me, I'm not going to sit here and say that I don't care what woman does or what a woman has, because for me, like, I want a very attractive woman, a woman that I'm attracted to, a woman that I can communicate with, and a woman that's not going to stress me out every day or all day. Because, relationships are going to have problems. They don't have to have problems, but when you're getting to know people and you're learning each other, sometimes those problems might decrease after you really know how to resolve or prevent as many problems. Because they always say, relationships are about compromise and sacrifice. Now, going again to women with children or men with children as well. But for the most part, there's a lot of women where they have their children. Men are, active and their kids' lives, but their children don't live with them. So when you're dating a woman with children, it's not necessarily a burden, but it's definitely more difficult because at the end of the day, you're not going to sit here and be no scrub. You're not going to be sitting here dating a woman, looking to build a future with this woman, and not try to be a part of the child's life at all. That's unrealistic. But again, I'm not speaking for most men. I'm just speaking for myself. But again, I feel like men can't agree to that because I've been in relationships. Most of my adult relationships, the ones that matter, I want to say all of the women that I've dated had children, and I even had lived with a couple of them. I've married my ex-wife after my son was born, and like I said, regardless of what our intentions were at the time, things happen, and we're not married anymore. But the thing too is, you know, I've come to the realization is that when we're dating, well, at least, so I come to the realization is when it comes to dating, people aren't dating people that they actually like or enjoy. Because for one, if you're a person who kind of dates a person, if I meet a woman out at the store or on the street or online or whatever, and I take her out on a date, that'll probably be our first interaction, or maybe not our first interaction, but our first time being around each other. So I still don't even necessarily know if I like you or not. So, I can be talking to you on the phone, and I'm a hopeless romantic. Like, I always feel like people are telling me the truth, right? However, I gotta be honest. Sometimes that may not be the case. I don't want to sit here and think negative about somebody, but that's just the reality of things. So, like, if I'm going out on a date with a woman, I'm getting to know them. I ask those important questions. You know, what's your relationship with God like? How do you feel about children, marriage, and all these things? Like, I get deep intentional like that because, again, I don't want to waste time and I don't want nobody else to waste my time. So some of those conversations have to be had. Some people might feel like certain conversations don't need to be had until later in the relationship, but it's like, nah, I'm gonna ask those hard, difficult questions. It's not even necessarily hard questions, but I'm gonna ask those serious questions because, again, you're gonna be going out on a date with somebody. If I go out to eat or go to the movies, and you're like, "Oh, I don't like this person," then hey, get on about your day. But there has been women, like I said, particularly, who might have just got a free meal, or who might just been able to look at this movie that she had to pay for. Like, women, to me, like I said, I'm sexist in certain things. I know that there's women who does, hard manual labor. I feel, to me, the way that I look at women, I look at them as soft and gentle. If it was up to me, and again, like I said, I think I'm gonna kick myself in the foot when I say this, but to me, women, I I feel like there shouldn't be women in construction or women truck drivers. Not saying that they need to be in the kitchen, but I feel like there are certain jobs that women should just do. But again, society, capitalism, everything changes. But like I said, that's just my thing. And even for me being a man who wants to take care of my woman, I wouldn't want my woman to work. But of course, the reality as well is that, a lot of prospering households requires two incomes. And like I said, I've worked for a long time. I mean, I don't want to say I don't want to have more than one job. I mean, I'm gonna have to have more than one job at some point. But I will say that I want to be in a position to where my woman can have the softest life ever, the softest life that she can have. With our children, without bills and stuff, I can take care of all of that. But I have to be in that position. And then that's one of the burdens also that a lot of men don't necessarily talk about. Because again, it's like, hey, say you broke without saying you broke. But it's like it's more to it about money though. Because if like, I have a son. So let's say if you're a single man with no children who meets a single woman with no children, it may be an easier life for y'all. But like for somebody like myself who has a child, if I even meet a woman that doesn't have a child, that's gonna be like, there's gonna be other responsibilities that I will have to take on, because me being a man who wants a partner, who wants a companion, who wants a lover, who wants to be able to have the term I'm looking for, but who wants to have a lifetime commitment, there's things that I have to take care of as well. And I know people will say, if you're not in a position to date, you shouldn't date. But it goes back again to where it's like, look, love ain't money, money ain't love. I know you need both of them, really. I think in this society now, money has become like even back then, but at like the highest level. Like if you don't got no money, you can't survive out here. And you don't. And why are you looking for a relationship when you can't take care of the woman? And that's fair. So it's like, I personally don't think anything's wrong with building. If you have a partner, if you have a job or a career, whatever it is that you're doing to make money, you have responsibilities. It's all about prioritizing. I'm not one of those people that feel like you have to be, you gotta have money to be in a relationship, because again, love ain't money, money ain't love. Now, because again, everything requires a foundation. Imagine if you're living in your purpose, you're making your money, you're getting all your money, you got your place, you got everything that you could have, and now you need a partner, or you're looking for a woman, and you can, succeed. But I think sometimes, because I've been on both ends, but sometimes it's harder to find someone who's actually rocking with you because of you, and not for what your assets are. Because people will say you want to bring something to the table, like you don't want a liability, you want assets. Like a woman, a relationship is an investment. Your woman is the biggest flex you can even have. And I will shout, Travis Johnson, I think they call him Richie Rich. He mentioned this on Facebook earlier. It's like your woman is a reflection of you. Just like, ladies, your man is a reflection of you. Who you decide to spend your time and life with, lay with, that's the type of person that highlights you. So that's another thing too, where like if you're just sitting here trying to find somebody to lay up with, soul ties are real. I don't care what nobody say about it just being an excuse for people, but no, soul ties are real. And it's not always going to be a sense of whether you experience or not. When you are laying down with somebody and you give your body to somebody, because again, our bodies is our temples, so when you give your body to somebody, you are connecting with them, and you connect on a much deeper level, to where if they're going through something and you want to relieve that stress and pain, you're going to that's going to reflect and transfer onto you, and vice versa. So like I said, like y'all know me, like I said this a couple times on the show, on the podcast. I struggled with lust, temptation, pornography, masturbation. You know, I struggle with a lot of things. Shrinkage. Like I done had all these things. Like my testosterone levels was very low, and it was even, like I said, even with like me with not exercising as much, me not eating as right as I should be, or even just the fact that I wasn't getting enough sleep. Because even when I was like I said, I work when I do my shifts, like when I do my 12-hour days, I be tired at night. Like the body isn't, I don't really want to say it, but it's like we're not meant to be up all day. Our bodies need rest. I know we gotta make our money, get our money, do our stuff, but it's like our body needs rest. It's just like anything else. Everything needs rest. If you ever been on it, like when you were on a computer or you're on your phone, and then maybe, I don't know if your phone does this, but I have an iPhone, and sometimes I might put it on the dashboard, or it might be so hot outside, I'm unable to use it because it's too hot. It's burning up. And then even with like a computer, you might spend so much time on a computer, it shuts down, it gets hot, it might fry. And that's kind of how the body is. Our body can fry. Like I think the longest I've spent, I think the most I've been up at a time was, I think I was up for 2 days straight, like 48 hours straight. And I remember, cause like one thing about me is, if I don't get the sleep when I need to get to sleep, I might end up being on autopilot, where I'm going to end up being up, and I'm going to be grumpy, and I'm going to end up crashing out in a sense where I'm burnt out, where I end up falling asleep. You don't want to pass out while you're out due to lack of sleep. You don't want to get sick and be in the hospital due to lack of sleep. These things happen. Thank God that never happened to me, but these things happen. So like I said, dating is an investment. I don't know about whoever's listening here, but I don't know if you ever invested in a business. You might have put maybe a couple $100, a couple dollars into a company for shares, and over time it either goes up or goes down. So that's the same thing like with dating, because it's like if you're with a woman or if you're with a man and y'all are spending time together, it's going to fluctuate. Y'all go through when y'all go through the motions, and y'all going through hell, and then y'all fighting and arguing and all type of tough stuff. Maybe the value of the relationship is going to go down. And then if y'all break up or whatever, the investment is going to be low. But if you're in a healthy relationship, the value of the relationship is going to go up, because it's all about how the response and reactions are. If I make you mad and we're not able to communicate even through those rough times, we might have a difficult time getting to that healthy point. Because sometimes, like I said, some people settle. Some people will settle because they're attracted to somebody, or some people settle because the person is benefiting off of what you do for them or give to them. And like I said, it's about each other. Like if I'm dating a woman, I can't just think about myself anymore. So I would like to think that if a woman's dating me, she can't just think about herself anymore. Like I can do things for you, but it's like if I'm just doing things and you're not doing anything for me, it's gonna get noticed. It's like the goal isn't to burn out your partner, but to build up. And like I said, I'm not a guru. I'm not a relationship excuse me. I'm not like no relationship doctor or nothing like that or anything, but I mean, I have some experiences. These are certain things that I've learned personally in my life. Even when I was married, and I said this before, it was like I learned a lot of things about myself when I was married. And even things before I was married, and even things after I was married. And I always said this because this is the thing. Like I said, I'm a big firm believer in God, Yahweh, Jesus Christ, relationships, two parents household, holy matrimony. I'm a big firm believer in that. You know, unfortunately, me and my ex-wife didn't make it, but I still believe in marriage. I still desire marriage. And I'm sorry, I'm on my phone trying to get it all together. But it's like I'm I lost my train of thought for a second. I've man, I just had it. I forgot that quick. This what happens sometimes when I talk so much about certain things. But like I said, relationships, you know, you don't want it to burn you out or build you up. Again, love, you can be the only, like, love is a one-way street, but relationships are a two-way street. Relationships that can be platonic relationships, romantic relationships, companionship, partnerships, all like ships, like anything dealing with ships is two-way street. So like I said, if you're the only one giving, and we can't include include we can't just tie it to providing with money, because the thing is like, if as a man, as society will say, provide and protect, the Bible would even say trying to protect, but the way the order of a holy matrimony, if you're dating with a purpose to be married, it's always like God is always going to have to come first. God, man, woman, child, everything else. But again, this is after you're married. So if you're dating, which is still again a new, it's a new aspect, because even like what, like, people use the Ruth and Boaz as an example, but Boaz inherited Ruth. Just go back and read Ruth. I think it has like four or five, 4 or 5 chapters. But you can read it when Boaz bought the property from Naomi. And because at first Boaz, I think Boaz was trying to get, I forgot his name. He tried to get somebody else to buy it from Naomi and say you can have Ruth too, but he was like, all right, I'll just do it. And then he cleared Naomi of her debts and stuff, and he inherited Ruth. But that was another love story. It's different times now. But like I said, there's an order, and when you do things out of order, when, like, if you're dating somebody and it's not intentional or not promising, you have to end it as soon as possible. And I'm telling y'all this out of love, because I've been there many times. I've been in a lot of relationships. I mean, there was good relationships, but like you said, like, I'm not married now. I mean, I failed those relationships, or they have failed the relationship, but it's like, I'm not married now, so something went wrong, but I'm just like, hey, sometimes God don't want you to be with this person, because again, God knows who we are truly. We might think we know who we are. We might desire certain things. Our desires come from a place. I'm not going to sit here and act like that. The ambitions and aspirations that we work hard for, the things that we do don't matter. But God knows the type of person you are, and He knows the type of person you need. Married couples need each other. If y'all are dating with intentions, y'all are going to need each other. So God, Lord's will bring that covenant together. But again, society, reality, social media, there's a variety of other options and other choices. So don't allow the things that you see online, the things that you see around you, the things that people tell you, the things that you even witnessed from, like, vicariously through somebody else or even with your own eyes. Don't give up hope on a good thing. If a man finds a wife, he finds a good thing. So I'm going to say this to fellas, like, fellas, please, I tell you this from the bottom of my heart. When you find your wife, or if you think you found your wife, ask God, get in the word and pray. Y'all pray together and act like, say, look, is this it? Because sometimes we can be so anxious for something, and sometimes things can be going so good that the devil will capitalize on your anxiety, on that desire, and you can be stuck. But things have to be ordained, I feel, even in dating. I'm not going to tell people not to casually date. You don't want to, you don't want to do that, but people can do what they want. But I do feel like when you're dating with intention, if you're actually looking for a husband or you're looking for a wife, you have to go to God for that. Sometimes we might have to go to our elders for counsel. And if we don't have nobody to go to, just open up that word. You know what I'm saying? It's all throughout the Bible, Proverbs, Matthew, Mark. It's all throughout the word. There's like I said, Ruth. Go to Ruth. Go to Horsey. I keep saying Horsey. I don't even think I'm saying that right, but Horsey. Genesis. You know what I'm saying? So I encourage y'all. I encourage y'all to date with intentions. I know the dating pool has piss in it. So then broaden your horizons. Go out to sea. Go to the fountain. Go to the lake. Go try the pond, and you're gonna find your swan. I promise you, fellas. And ladies, I'm not a woman, but it's like I get it, I understand. The soft girl era. I understand, y'all are gentle and stuff, but just remember, like, we all want to have a prosperous life and be successful and not have to stress about money. But sometimes, even if there's a man that you might be interested in, but he's not, in a financially, he's not in like a financial position that you probably prefer. Just you might it might take some time, but it's like, just seek counsel, ask God to, reveal to you who this man is, because like I said, you'll be surprised how much your man can elevate with you because of you. When a man finds a wife, he obtains favor from the Lord. because he found a good thing. Because, again, most successful men are married. Most of them, not saying all of them, but most of them are married. But again, it's like, it's real, yo. I believe in divine intervention. I believe in divine relationships. I believe that when a man finds his queen, life becomes easier for him, and the woman will be able to live her soft life as well. But it goes back again to the choices, you know, because imagine, because like I said, I'm going to tell y'all another story and I'll be done. You know, most of my life, like I said, since I was 14, I looked at myself as, mature for my age. I love the ladies, love the women, always been a gentleman, but sometimes my intentions were misguided. I've I just wanted a life partner. At one point, I didn't care to be married. I just wanted to be like, yeah, I want to have a child and just have a life partner. Don't have to be my wife. But the thing is that I was young, and then I got older, and then it's like I still desire this. I still desire a life partner. I still desire a wife. And even after my divorce, I was going through a rough time, and I didn't realize it. Because, me as a man and as a father, I'm like, man, it wasn't just the fact that, you know, me and my ex-wife was divorced. It was like, man, I'm not in the house with my son anymore. So I've been in and out the house. Like I moved back to Virginia in 2016 when my ex-wife was pregnant with my son. Me and her got married in 2017, and we was divorced by 19. So, like I said, it was a short marriage, but I would I got back out there. I was, wasn't really sleeping around, but I was dealing with someone. We've had sexual relations, fell in love, didn't fell out. So there was different. I've dated other women after marriage. I've been in sexual relationships with women after marriage. I I believe also, like I said, it doesn't matter where she is. She can be she can be on the other side of the country, the other side of the world. What God has for you, now you have to position yourself sometimes to see it, to witness it, to find her. Man, I'm talking to y'all. Have to position yourself sometimes to see it. You're not, you can maybe be at the house or something, but you have to position yourself just as she has to position herself. But like I said, there's an order, there's a standard that God wants us to follow. And regardless of whether you believe in God or not, or believe in the natural order of things, that's something that you will have to work out on yourself. I'm not going to sit here and say that every marriage that is current right now, God ordained it, but y'all, we make decisions. But I do feel like when you do marry a person, because again, you're dating and then you get to marriage. When you marry a person, you have to stay with them unless something else altered. But never let someone's past, Never let what somebody says deter you from your faith, your hope, and your love for that person. Sometimes we get so superficial and some of the things that we might want. Like I said, people settle. I'm not going to say you should settle, but if you love this person, if you actually know this person, you like them, then it builds to love to where you can see yourself with this person for the rest of your life. Push forward. I've had a lot of misses. I'm telling you, I had a lot of misses. Some that like I had to recover from. I mean, I healed fast, but it hurts. It still hurts sometimes, but I'm healed. I'm healed, humbled, and holy. Even just recently, it's like, man, I had come to revelation. It's like it was me. I wasn't taking the steps. I wasn't going the way that God wanted me to go. I wasn't keeping in order. Like I love the woman that I accepted in my life, the woman that I brought into my life, and it's like I loved her so much. And like I said, this is for like all. I'm gonna say this: all the women. I'm a hopeless romantic. I'm a true certified lover boy. Every woman that I was involved with in my adult life, like from the age of probably like 25. So what? The last 14 years. Yeah, the last 14 years. I'm 39 now. For the last 14 years, all the women that I was involved with, I fell for them, and I fell for them hard. I would have married them. I would have given my life for them. And, but things don't work out. But it's like, there's no hate there. I still love them, but it's like, man, I have to, I really need to have a woman of God who sees me, who knows me, who loves me for me. I'm in a tight situation and position right now, but it's like I never get in a relationship for help. I never get in a relationship for security, but it's like it's just a desire that I have. I do have a fear of dying alone. I don't want to be found by my son, by brother, sister, relatives. Like, oh yeah, he's gone. Like and it's like one of those things that I think about. I mean, if I'm dead, I'm dead. But it's like I don't want my son to find me, because I'm thinking ahead in a sense where it's like, my son's 9 now. I mean, Lord's will, I'll see him as an adult. He'll be alive I'll be alive when he's an adult. But it's like I have faith that I can survive, live, prosper, thrive on the life that I want to be, the idle life. Like I have so much potential in myself and I believe in myself, but it's just about position and it's just about following God's order. So, I'm not going to take up much of y'all time anymore, but I do appreciate y'all for being here with me. Now, blessed ones, y'all already know. If y'all have any questions, suggestions, requests, anything that y'all want me to talk about on the podcast, leave a comment, send the email. The link is on the profile. I'll give y'all a shout out. Anything, just let me know. Because like I said, we family. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. So, as always, stay safe, be positive, prosperous, productive, and remember, Man that finds his wife finds a good thing that obtains favor from the Lord. Come out.